This video is sponsored by F1 Delta Time. F1 Delta Time is the officially licensed F1 game from Animoca Brands running on the Ethereum blockchain. In F1 Delta Time, you buy NFTs, racing cars, components, drivers and tyres. You put them together in your workshop and then you can go off and race the daily time trial. This is different tracks under different weather conditions, and at the end of the week the top placed players gain rewards. There's also a staking mechanic, which means you can stake cars that you are not using in the game and gain the in-game cryptocurrency called Rev. The game is now launching its 2020 season with a new set of NFTs and is also now experimenting with NFTs that allow you to own parts of the track, which means anytime players race on that track, you also gain some Rev token. You can check it all out at f1deltatime.com. Thanks for the sponsorship. Hello and welcome to Blockchain Gaming World Daily with me, John Jordan. So this is a bit of an old press release actually, so you can see it's from November, 17th of November, so getting on for a month ago now. But it's actually a pretty important press release. So I'm not quite sure how I managed to miss it. It seems like pretty much everyone else managed to miss it as well. That could be because it is the most boring press release you've ever read from the title. Actually, what's inside is pretty interesting. And I guess probably I'm reading too much into it. Could be pretty significant, I think, for the fact that blockchain technology is now being seen upon by some kind of pioneers in the game space, and they're just being, for some reason, being a bit quiet about it. I guess because there's a long time to go until their products are actually out. Anyway, so what? Let's kind of pick this apart. So Forte has announced new partnerships with Gallium Studios, Monsters Ideas, Penrose, and GC Turbo. So that means nothing to most of us. I haven't heard of before this press release. I hadn't heard of Gallium Studios, Monster Ideas, Penrose, or GC Turbo. So I assume you probably hadn't either. I had heard of Forte. So Forte has been around for a couple of years now. It is a kind of startup, typical kind of Silicon Valley sort of thing. It's very much focused on blockchain games. It's the company set up by Kevin Chu, who was the original founder at Kabam Games, really successful free-to-play PC and mobile game developer. He also is involved with one of the Overwatch esports teams. He's really got into blockchain, but he's got quite quiet about it. He's building some social stuff out, I think, at the moment. But Forte is like a blockchain kind of platform, kind of ecosystem, I guess, sort of thing. We're not quite sure. I'm not really sure exactly what kind of blockchain it's working on, what the tech is. But it did do a deal with Ripple, which seemed a bit odd at the time. I think more of a financial deal. But they basically have this $100 million. At least that's the headline, $100 million fund to encourage people to make blockchain games, obviously using the Forte platform. So this is the background to this particular boring press release about 4 companies you've never heard of. So there's this company Forte, who are pretty important, with some pretty important people in there who've got some money, raised quite a lot of money, and are kind of giving it away to game developers. So that's interesting. So what is why am I banging on about this? So you ask that all the time. So here we go. I've spent my career making games that let a player's own creativity be part of their experience, said Will Wright, co-founder Gallium Studios. Fortnite's technology is adding to this idea by letting players create and own their own content in our games. Right, so anyone in the blockchain space, this is not a surprise. We talk about kind of player-led economies and obviously blockchain. The whole point of a blockchain, or one of the main points of a blockchain, is players own the things in the game. This is fundamental. This is very important. The developer does not own the things in the game like they do at the moment. The player owns the things in the games, and that means players can sell them, trade them, potentially make money. There's a whole bunch of other stuff I'm not going to go into in this short video, but this is really important, and this is the key thing. And we're starting to see this with games like, particularly user-generated content games like Blanco's Block Party and Sandbox. Neither of those released properly yet. But that's really where the kind of focus is going on. And obviously we see this in the non-blockchain space in Roblox, where you can make money from the things you sell in Roblox, although it's much harder because they haven't got a blockchain. But Will Wright, so have you heard of Will Wright? I don't know. He's not been in the kind of eye of the gaming industry really for the last 10 years. But Will Wright, if you know anything about games for the last 30 years, Will Wright is one of the kind of a colossus of games design. So SimCity, all the Sim stuff is Will Wright. He is an incredibly intelligent guy. I guess he's probably getting on now, probably in his 60s, I would think. But he really thinks in a very different way to to a lot of game designers about how you kind of take abstract ideas and make them interesting. And say all the sim stuff is him. He also did a game called Spore. Wasn't quite as successful, but kind of pretty interesting, thinking about how kind of single cell creatures kind of evolve up and all this sort of stuff. So he's made some pretty impressive games. Obviously made billions of dollars for EA. He had a company called Maxis, who EA bought. They did all the sim stuff. So anyway, he's a really interesting guy. He's interested in robots. He set up a thing called he set up kind of like a robot making club at the height of his fame. He just has this very interesting brain. So if you want someone to be making really creative things that use blockchain, there are not many people better, I think, than Will Wright. So Will Wright is making a blockchain game. That's the headline. This is what the headline should be. Forte and Will Wright are making blockchain games. Not Forte and industry pioneers partnered to blah, 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 blah. So load of old rubbish there. So that's the headline. That's it, really. As you're listening to this, I will go into a bit more detail. So not known anything like as well as Will Wright is this guy, Jeff Tunnell. So he is pretty well known as well. So he did a game called Tribes. That was a kind of an early PC kind of shooter team-based game, pretty successful 20 years ago for Sierra. He's also did a thing called Garage Games. That was a kind of a indie game development platform. It had its own engine before Unity was really big. People were using Garage Games. It had its own distribution. So it was never massively successful, but it definitely made a hit in the industry. So he's involved as well. He's someone who's been in the industry 30, probably 40 years. Made some pretty massive games. Another interesting mind to get involved in this sort of thing. He's making a blockchain game. We have Penrose, don't know about them, they make VR games, and then GC Turbo, not particularly well known. They make messenger games for chat platforms like Facebook Messenger. At the moment, at least, that's what they do. But the guys behind it were in a company called RockU, that was a really big Facebook game company back in the day. So you can kind of see, it's interesting that Forte have picked up these companies who are proper companies with a couple of people who really have deep roots in the games industry, knows what worked, they know what don't work as well. They've had loads of failures. None of these people sail through life having billion-dollar successes all the time. But this is kind of really interesting, and this is, I guess, what I've been missing for the last year. Really, is we have the people who know blockchain, we have the crypto enthusiasts, we have all of us who think blockchain games are going to be massive. What we haven't seen a lot of is people who probably aren't into blockchain very much, and probably just want to make games, and and are they adopting blockchain as a technology where they think this is going to add something to our experience? And Will Wright, one of the smartest people in games, is doing that. Jeff Tunnell is doing that. And this is why I'm kind of excited by this kind of press release. Even though it's taken me almost a month to find it. So there we go. Let's not overplay it. It's not Will Wright is still Will Wright is one man. He's not going to change the industry on his own. But as I say, if I could think of 10 people who'd be making a blockchain game and they were named designers, Will Wright would definitely be one of them. So that's good news, and that's what I wanted to say today. So thanks for watching the video. This is Blockchain, a Gaming World. From me, John Jordan. If you like blockchain games, please do subscribe to the channel. We do these kind of news videos. We do quite a lot of videos of playing blockchain games and that sort of thing. A bit of more in-depth around data as well, because I like data. But if you like that stuff, please do subscribe. But thanks for watching, and hope to see you again soon.